And Michelle Bachman, welcome back to the program.
Jan, thank you so much. It just really is a privilege to be here and talk about this important information.
Yeah, Michelle, you have been traveling. My goodness, you've been traveling. You traveled much of the month of August. You went to a half a dozen countries. We can mention those just a little bit later. But first, I want to start in the U.S. because you also went to the southern border. Here's some of the things you told me about the southern border, that you spoke with Hispanics, Border Patrol, Texas Rangers, you went to shelters, you videotaped a crossing on the Rio Grande. I actually saw it on Breitbart. You said that the Border Patrol told you, and this was back in August, that there were at least 142 nations that have crossed as of midsummer, probably 150, 60 nations. Now, some of those are actually terror nations. You told me that the tide of people coming across, the Border Patrol is doing the best they can. And what else do my listeners need to know about your trip to the southern border?
It's not protected, and it is not the fault of the Border Patrol. It is the fault of the politicians who have failed the national security interests of the American people, because we have people that are coming across at a rate of literally thousands a day, and my real concern is for our national security, our economic security, but also our national security, because as you rightly said, Border Patrol told me that there had been people from over 142 countries that they had counted so far who have come into the United States, and we have now the threat of Islamic jihadists saying that they will come into the United States and they will wreak havoc within our nation. Why in the world would we not build an effective fence across our entire southern border, and why in the world would we not engage in deporting foreign nationals who are pouring across our southern border? We need to do that because now we have profound national security considerations.
But what is the solution? Okay, you've said build a fence. I mean, obviously that's what Israel has done. Israel has built a fence and kept out terrorists. And, of course, those on the left are going to say, well, why can't we let everyone into this country? This is a nation of immigrants. That may be true, but most of those immigrants came legal ways. But what is the solution to this if a fence won't be built, if the left won't allow this to happen?
Well, it's very important to maintain United States sovereignty. You must have control over your borders. You know, there's a fence around the White House, and I'm very happy that there's a fence around the White House, because I want our president and his family and those who work there to be secure in their persons. We need to make sure that the American people are secure also, and the point is we are not, and that's why we have the technical capability of building a fence to secure our southern border. We have the ability to be able to deport foreign nationals who have violated our law, and we simply must do that, because now we are looking at advances of terrorism and terrorist acts in the United States, and we need to understand that there has been a change. There are terrorist acts that are occurring across the world. My job as a member of the United States House of Representatives is to make sure that national security comes first. We need to secure the personal safety of Americans, and in order to secure the personal safety of the American people, we need to ensure that foreign nationals who may have terrorist intents are not able to carry out terrorist acts in the United States to hurt both people and their property in the United States.
You know, I think this is a spirit of lawlessness that Jesus talked about in Matthew 24, and we're watching it happen. It's amazing to me that there's any debate about our borders. We probably have, many of us have probably seen the truck driver who pulled up to the border, and then the video was shot afterward, and he said that our border agent asked if he was an American citizen, and he said, well, yes, but does it matter? And the border agent looked back at him and said, not anymore. I mean, that's how bad it is. The spirit of lawlessness is around us, and yet we see in our national public debate this resistance to follow what our law states and keep our country safe. It is Isaiah 5:20. Evil has become good all around us, and this is a great example up close and personal on our southern border.
It's interesting that you would say that, Eric, because quite a long time ago I had said that I believe that the greatest legacy of President Obama, and I don't mean to be partisan, but what I said is that the greatest legacy of President Obama, in my opinion, would be the establishment of lawlessness in the United States.
Michelle, you have been traveling a great deal this past summer anyway, and you traveled to half a dozen countries, some of them Ukraine, Jordan, Turkey, South Korea, China. You were in Haiti for other reasons, but what kind of feedback did you get in a couple of these countries?
Well, when I had visited the Ukrainian region, it was very clear to me that there was a fear among the Ukrainian people and the government employees there that they were seeing the threat of Putin on their eastern border, and they believed very clearly that Putin would come in if he wasn't pushed back, and of course that is what we saw occur. There isn't a signal that is going across the world right now that the United States, using the force that has been available to us historically, and so the thugs of the world who have always been present from all time only maintain their limited authority if they believe that someone will push back. And the thugs of the world have estimated, I believe rightly, that the United States is no longer in the business of pushing back against their evil intentions. And I saw that in the Ukraine. Also, when I went to Turkey and Jordan, I went there for the purpose of dealing with ISIS and speaking with government officials about ISIS and the movement of the Islamic State as they continue to expand their reach. I also went to South Korea and to China because there's been very aggressive actions that have been taken both by the leader of North Korea and by the Chinese in trying to further their aims and their goals. And then I also went down to Haiti because we have a terrible problem with economic slavery and sexual slavery of young children. And so I wanted to deal with that issue as well as going to our southern border to be able to assess what that has to do with our national security.